Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is another weather forecast discussion for January 20th, 2022. Of course, my name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy and Nate. It seems things are starting to finally come into perfect view as we are setting up the stage for a winter storm to move on through into portions of the mid-Atlantic. If you've been on my channel for a couple of days now, you kind of have been seeing how this system has originated with a low pressure system forming near the Dakotas and somewhere into central portions of Canada, as well as another low pressure system that was in the southwestern portions of the United States. And these have actually moved off further towards the east, to the point where now it's starting to push this giant dip in the jet stream, this massive trough that is bringing a lot of moisture here, according to the water vapor imagery, into view. And this is going to create a bit of problems for areas who are right along the border of the freezing line, to where some areas could potentially get rain, some areas could potentially get snow, and then some areas could potentially get ice. So this is definitely going to be something that we're going to have to watch out for, as to specifically where the stationary boundary finally stops, so that we can determine as to which areas could get significant ice, which areas could get snow, and which areas could not see anything. Now, on the other hand, we have this new low pressure system that is starting to develop across portions of British Columbia. And what this is going to do is this is going to take a very similar path as to what the southwestern low actually did, and head off into the general vicinity of the Gulf of Mexico. And eventually, as that moves on through, it could create some severe weather for portions of the coastal Gulf of Mexico by the end of this weekend into the beginning of next weekend. So we're going to have to see as to what the contributing factors are for this event, as to whether or not this could be life-threatening. But for right now, it is something to make a note of as this is starting to develop. And on the other hand, we have something that is going to surprise quite a few of you. You guys might be wondering as to why I'm actually looking off the coast of Baja California and off the coast of California in general. And that is because there is an area to watch here of tropical weather that is located just to the south and west of Los Angeles. Now, this has a 40% chance of formation over the next 5 days, so not a huge chance, but it does have a small window of opportunity, to where if this thing continues to get more and more organization over the next couple of days, we could see a brief, short-lived tropical system. Yes, you heard me correctly, a tropical system in January. I thought I've seen it all, but you know, it is what it is at this point. That is 2022 for you. Now, before we get into the weather models, I do want to show you guys all the watches, warnings, and advisories here for whatever winter weather, severe weather, or whatever other weather is on the actual map here of Radar Omega. We also have that invest over here into portions of the Eastern Pacific. So that's kind of interesting here to see. For the most part, if you are in any of the pinks, you are in a winter weather warning. If you are in the purples, you are in a winter weather advisory. And if you are in the dark purples here, for instance, towards areas near Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, as well as areas near Jacksonville and Beaufort, you guys are in an ice storm warning. So watch out for that, guys, if you guys can, because there definitely is some potential of winter weather within your general vicinity. And you guys definitely are going to want to be safe, especially with some slippery conditions like winter weather. Now, before we go any further, I know I stopped you all just to show you the watches warning and stuff, but self-promotion alert. If you guys did enjoy all the stuff that I do provide here on the channel, please be sure to subscribe and especially turn on notifications, because if you turn on notifications, you stay up to date with all the stuff that I provide, and I usually post videos whenever weather could be life-threatening. So if you want to stay up to date with all the stuff that I actually provide on the channel, please be sure to do so. And also, please be sure to leave a like on the video so we can spread this to as many people as possible on YouTube, because that's how YouTube works. If you hit the like button, or if more and more people hit the like button more within a short period of time, it actually gets spread out to more and more people on YouTube. So if you guys do that for me, that would be great. And let's get straight on to the weather models here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 500 millibar wind shear, which is about 6 kilometers above ground level. Of course, if you want the timings, it is above me in Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in another time zone, you're going to have to adjust accordingly. And of course, the scale for how significant the wind shear is at the bottom part of your screen. Now, just to compare as to what exactly is happening right now compared to what the model says is happening right now, is we have a lot of the strong wind shear moving through the United States. We have our low pressure system that is near the Great Lakes. We have our other low pressure system, which is trying to develop. And then we have our other developing low pressure system somewhere in British Columbia. So far, so good. It is pretty accurate compared to what's happening right now. So let's play on through. Let's see what happens here with the models. And you can see these low pressure systems here that we're moving on through further and further east are going to continue to do so. But then this wind shear here kind of just stays in this general area. And it also starts to intensify more and more. And so this is what I like to call a stationary boundary, to where nothing's really moving. You have just these storms that are moving up the line, and it's just going to create some constant precipitation. So we're going to have to watch out for how far this actually stays into the model. How long does this stay here in this general area according to the model that we're looking at? The other thing that I want to draw attention to is look at this developing low pressure system now. It's now over Idaho. This is sometime around Friday morning to Friday afternoon as this moves on through, and watch how this continues to move about. The low pressure system then starts to form over California, and then we also finally have our upper level low pressure system move this stationary boundary completely out of the area. We still have some significant wind shear, but most of the moisture will be already off the coast at that time. So this is something to really look forward to. This is Saturday morning is when this will finally start to move out of the area. And then we could potentially see some snow for areas here near the Great Lakes. Look at this, another low pressure system here at the bottom of this dip in the jet stream. We have a huge positively tilted trough that is moving on through. You can see these isobars that are kind of tightly compacted right within here compared to some of the other areas, and you can see how it bends just like that. That is a good indicator of it being a trough, and if it's leaning towards the right, so where from the bottom it goes up toward the top right, that is a positively tilted trough. However, if it was the other way, it would be a negatively tilted trough. But in this case, we have a giant positively tilted trough, and that will more than likely bring some snowfall for some areas up here into portions of the Midwest and the Great Lakes, as well as into Ontario and Quebec. So watch out for that. And let's shift gears over here to the simulated radar here from the North American model. Now we're going to try and kill 3 birds with 1 stone here. So I want to talk about the winter storm that's going to be hitting the Carolinas, whatever else is left over here in southern Texas. And then I haven't talked about my friends over in the western portion of the United States a whole lot. So we're going to take a look at what's happening over here too. And let us play this along here and see what happens. First things first, we have some pretty hefty amounts of snow that move on through into portions of Idaho, Montana, as well as into Wyoming. And that'll just basically clear out for the most part. But then as this moves on through into Friday, you can see how you have this massive boundary that begins to develop. And you also see the beginning of this Alberta Clipper that is going to move on through. Look at this massive band of snow that extends all the way down into portions of Colorado and all the way up as far as portions of... Now, if you guys have been paying attention here to this southern event down here, for the most part, it has been practically rain. We haven't had a whole lot of pinks, salmon colors, or even blues in any sort of area. So this basically means that much of the warm moisture that has been in the Gulf of Mexico has actually overpowered that cold air, and which is actually going to result to more and more rain. So definitely something to consider with that. And then of course the storm that's over along the Carolinas doesn't actually have as much activity except for it being off the coast. And what's basically has happened here is that the stationary boundary has moved a bit further off the coast, and the moisture that is set up over the Atlantic Ocean is taking up much of this precipitation. So you barely have any precipitation that's over the land, which is over the Carolinas, as well as into portions of Virginia as well. So not really anything too huge for that. But what the heck, let's go take a look at it anyways. Let's go see what's happening here with the environment, and we're going to take a look at all different levels of the atmosphere and see what the temperatures are so we can get an idea as to which areas could be snow, which areas could be rain, which areas could be freezing rain. So let's take a look here at the 700 millibar temperature, which is about 3 kilometers above ground level. We're looking at this in Celsius, and it's pretty easy to identify as to which is freezing or not, and that's basically any areas here within this white and above is the freezing level, and areas below that is above freezing. So let's go ahead and shift gears from the 700 millibar temperature to the 850 millibar temperature, which is about 1 kilometer above ground level. And you notice the freezing level actually recedes a little bit further towards the north. So basically what happens here is areas in between this black line and this blue line, it starts to form out as snow in the upper portions of the atmosphere, about 5 to 3 kilometers above ground level. And then once it gets down to the 1 kilometer above ground level area, that's when it melts into rain. Now, anywhere north of the blue line, it'll still stay as snow if there is any snow. But then what happens here, if we change it to the surface temperatures, and you can see here that these areas right along the coastline, right here, there is basically a thin area or a slim margin of error to where there could potentially be some significant freezing rain along the areas of that area in between the blue line and the pink line. And that's basically right over where there are ice storm warnings across much of the area. So Wilmington, as well as Myrtle Beach and the surrounding areas, you guys really need to watch out for some potential slippery conditions, as well as some power outages being possible with the significant amounts of ice there. So definitely consider that if you are within those areas. So what are the totals that you guys can get? Well, the maximum over here at the bottom right-hand corner tells you that the most, according to this model here with the NAM 3 kilometer, is about 3/4 of an inch of ice that is possible. So watch out for that. Could definitely be some. There could definitely be lower in some areas. I definitely could foresee that happening. The NAM tends to kind of overdo some things, but then again, there has been some instances where it's underdone it. So I would say about a half an inch of ice could be anticipated along areas here, specifically here from Wilmington and the coastal areas of North Carolina all the way up towards the Outer Banks. Right along that area here where this line is, that is where you guys could probably see about a half an inch of freezing rain. So watch out for that if you guys can. And on the other hand, what about the snow? Why is there not as much snow? Well, once again, the precipitation is mainly off the coast. It is mainly warmer off the coast, so therefore you don't have a whole lot of freezing temperatures. So we are shown stuff like this to where there isn't really a whole lot of snow anticipated. And that's kind of what I've been like holding back on. I haven't been really saying that this is going to be a major winter event. And for good reason. I mean, it's not really impacting a large populace, number one. Number two, it's not giving significant amounts of any sort of precipitation. And number three, it seems to be rather just kind of meh for the most part. So that's kind of the reason why I've been holding back for the most part, and I'm going to continue to do so. But at the same time, the areas that are getting the most amount of precipitation, or at least frozen precipitation, still need to be on high alert, because that could still create hazardous conditions, especially since, let's be honest here, for the people who live down there, they know full well they don't get this stuff. So they need to kind of just be on red alert for the most part so that you guys can continue to try and stay safe, because it is not exactly something that you're accustomed to. All right, so now let's go back to that 500 millibar wind shear here, and instead of us using the North American model, we're going to be using the Euro model, and that's mainly because A, the NAM model doesn't go that far out. It only goes out 3 to 4 days in advance, whereas the Euro model goes out about a week and a half out in advance. So that's definitely a larger margin here for us to be able to show you guys as to what potential weather systems could be looking like in the future. And the other thing is the Euro model tends to really do very well with placements of low pressure systems as well as significant wind shear. So we're going to be able to use this model and at least anticipate within the next 5 to 6 days as to where low pressure systems could potentially be. And we can see here, as we go here from Friday into Saturday, we have our developing low pressure system that's over the Rockies. This is going to start to surge on through into the Gulf of Mexico as we have forecasted, and this is going to create a bit of severe weather across some of these areas here along the coastal Gulf of Mexico areas, maybe even a little bit further inland. But the big thing here is that it's sometime from Monday into Tuesday, and it could be Monday night to where it actually impacts the western portions of the Gulf of Mexico, and then it could be the eastern portions of the Gulf of Mexico, specifically near the peninsula of Florida, that could get impacted on Tuesday. So we're going to have to watch out as to how much energy there is, how much wind shear there is expected to be, what the veering in the atmosphere is going to be like, and if things start to fall into line, we could potentially talk about a severe weather system that could move on through within this general area. And on the other hand, if we direct our attention north towards the border of the United States and Canada, and we backtrack it here for a little bit, you can see a new developing low pressure system that's right along the border of Manitoba and Ontario. And this is going to create some more snow for areas here near the Midwest, Ontario, as well as the Great Lakes. So definitely watch out for that. From Monday into Tuesday, more than likely it'll start on Monday morning. It'll move on through onto Tuesday, and that's when you guys can get some more wintry precipitation. So watch out for that as to how this actually does unfold. And if we take a look at it here from the simulated radar, we can see once we get past Saturday and Sunday, we have our first Alberta clipper that moves on through, which is right here. And then we have our second storm that'll begin to form here within the next day or two. There you go. Here's your next low pressure system. You also have the new developing low pressure system that's creating moisture over into portions of Texas. And you can see how both of them start to move on through further and further to the east, with the one up near the Great Lakes moving up towards the northeast. And then the other one that is up here along the coastal Gulf of Mexico areas. So this is definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to play about. And that's going to be pretty much it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media. Links will be in the description down below. Our Give It To Me Straight question of the day is, I have a box behind me here. You can see the box right there, all right? What you guys have to guess is what is in that box, all right? And if you get it correct, then I will pin you down in the comments down below. Now, for the people who do know, who I talk to in my personal life, don't spoil it. Please don't spoil it. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next video. So peace out, everyone.